Can AI compete with me in order to create real, strong, and functional parts that I can actually install and test out? Well, that's what I'm curious about today. I know they've released ChatGPT 5 and it says that it's smart. So let's test it out, see how smart it really is, and maybe we'll find out if it can actually replace me. So here is our project, and I know you guys are probably sick of me talking about my rain barrel, so I'm not going to focus on the barrels so much. I'm going to focus on this. I want to make some adjustments to this. I want to make it work better, and I want to make some changes based off of feedback you guys have provided, saying this is coming out a bit too far. It could get damaged if somebody bashes it, maybe with a bike. I could hit it with something as I'm walking by. So I think that's a good idea. And if we look at the position of it, it is too far out. It doesn't need to be this far at all. It's also much higher than it needs to be. I originally had this pipe mounted so I can bring this down, but it was a bit of a problem because the valve's up here and then all of that water needed to drain out after I shut the valve off. So what I'm going to do is take this pipe and bring it down further, between 30, 45 degrees, something like that. That's going to both lower this pipe down quite a bit. It's also going to bring this in at the same time quite a bit too. So it's going to be set in just at about the right distance that we need. What I will also do is replace this 90-degree elbow with a 45-degree elbow as well, because we're going to be down at an angle. It does not need to be 90, otherwise it would tend to want to send the water back towards the wall. That will also help me when I shut the water off. I'm going to have less distance until the end. It'll have a little bit less water draining out at the very end after I shut off the valve. So with all that said, I actually need a bracket to be able to mount this. And I thought it'd be a great little project because it's not overly complicated. I have an idea of what I want, but I'd like to see what an AI software can do if I just give it some basic information. So to give the AI a running start, what I'm going to do is take this piece of pipe, I'm going to set it against the frame at approximately the angle that I want and say, hey AI, what am I missing and can you create that missing part for me? And now we can head into the shop and feed this information in. All right, so I am in Copilot right now, and I'm going to switch from Quick Response to Smart Chat GPT 5. It says it's new. So what I'm going to do is feed in that image. And I thought it'd be kind of neat to do a little test just to see how smart this really is. So what I'm going to say is, can you figure out which part is actually required and then create an image of just that part? And then that part also should be designed in such a way that it can be 3D printed for strength and ease of installation as well. On occasion, it'll tell me that it can't give me an image that I asked for, but if I ask for an image specifically, it will give me an image. From what I can see in your uploaded image, the core issue is that the smaller PVC pipe that you're holding and the larger PVC pipe fixed to the wooden structure need a secure join. That means the key missing piece is a custom cylindrical adapter, specifically designed to fit their diameters and make for a solid water type connection. So I was a little bit afraid that this would happen. So it's got a little bit too much information here and it's confused. And I don't blame it for that because it doesn't know the context of this. It doesn't know that I'm going to be changing the position of that pipe. So what I'm going to do is actually go back and take a new photo. I'm going to adjust the angle of the pipe down and I'm going to give it a better chance at having some success. We can take it back into the shop and see what it can do with this new information. So just like a real person, it's kind of got a mind of its own. It doesn't really want to do exactly what I've asked it to do. It only wants to do one step at a time. So I will allow it to do that. I'm going to say, first, can you tell me what I need? And then the next step will be, can you create an image of that thing that you determined that I need? So let's go ahead, upload that new image, and I'll give it a little hint. That is strange. Okay, so I uploaded an image, then I asked it a question, and it's saying it can't view the image right now, so I'm going to upload the image again. And hopefully that solves that problem. Looks like I've stumped it for some reason. Let's try this again. and I will answer some of the questions. Yeah, for some reason I stumped it there. Your image is on its way. Perfect. It's giving me an image this time. Yay. Your image is on its way. Once you have it, you can load the model into your slicer. What? So it's not making any sense there. Once I have it, I can load the model into my slicer. Orient for maximum layer strength along the stress path. That's not particularly clear. And print in PETG, ASA, or UV weather resistance. That's good. I've incorporated smooth chamfers for easy installation, and the screw holes are countersunk to keep hardware flush. Very good. It's a little bit confused because it's asking me for precise values for clearances, and then it would incorporate that into the design, but the design is just an image. I have a bracket which looks really good. I will give it some credit for that. It's got chamfers or fillets or both. It has the passage to go all the way through. Now it does say OD 40 millimeters. I would assume that's actually the ID of this bracket. But again, none of that actually is critical in this case because it is just an image at this point. So it would need to be scaled up or down. I want to convert this into a 3D, or at least try to do that before we move on to another example. So for the image to 3D, I'm using Copilot 3D, which I think is pretty new. And it says I can upload an image, and it works best with a single subject with even lighting and a plain background. So that is what I'm going to do. And we'll see how that one does. And I also have another option. And Maker World has a image to 3D. It's experimental at this point, but we can try it out. And we'll do the exact same thing. It doesn't tell me anything about the criteria though, so I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's go ahead and generate that one as well. Not quite like the image though. So it was confused. It is still a bracket. It is not hollow all the way through. So I would say that was a fail for Copilot 3D. Let's see if Maker World did any better. Oh wow, that is much, much better. Interesting. I'm noticing that the hole looks a little bit oval. But overall, I would say very good. That hole is a bit of an issue, but I suppose we could end up stretching it a little bit, or I should say compressing it a little bit, and that could work, but it doesn't really work with my frame. So far, it did pretty well. I have to give it some credit. It came up with what was required based off of that image. So I'm gonna go back to Copilot, but this time what I'm gonna do is feed in an image, and I'm gonna draw in a sketch of approximately where I want the bracket to be located, and then it'll have a better idea. And this drawing is going to be by no means very accurate. Let's see what it can do with this information. Okay, I just said, can you create an image of a mounting bracket which will connect a 40 millimeter pipe to the wood frame front legs and have it connected with 2 or 3 screws? The image should isolate the bracket, and the final part should be something that is strong and 3D printable as well. Let's see what it comes up with. It's actually not bad. It's very simple. I like that. It would be pretty strong. It does show the pipe. So I'm going to ask it to remove the pipe from the image as well. The good thing about this bracket design is that it has flexibility of the angle, so it can meet whatever angle we want, and that is ideal. The other good thing about this bracket design is that the installation is pretty easy. It can be placed just over top of the pipe. The bad thing about this image is that it doesn't show any detail on the backside or underside. So if I try and use this, it's not going to be able to produce anything. Let's see if I give it a request for an image which shows both the top and the bottom in one image, what it'll do. I actually like the simplicity of this design. I think that there's some merit to this, and it's almost usable. But notice also the underside view shows the hole going all the way through, but the top view doesn't. So, I guess it got confused. I'm going to play around with this a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I ended up with. Hopefully I can get to something that's really good. So what I ended up doing was creating a very basic sketch of the bracket against the post, giving it a little bit better idea of what I was looking for. And then I gave a fairly lengthy description of the pipe size, how far off of the leg it was going to be, and those types of things. And it came up with some okay results. Some of them I actually think are going to be pretty good. Like this one here has some extra holes in it, but it does have some features on the clamp that are beneficial, like this section that is going to be able to move around a little bit. So then I moved on to the idea of, okay, forget the context. I'm just going to give it a request. Can you create a strong and 3D printable PVC pipe clamp meant to mount the piece of PVC pipe to a vertical leg of the frame, and then isolate the bracket from the image and remove any screws so that it can be used to create a 3D model in something like Copilot 3D. And it ended up giving me something that is actually very good. So you can see here it has this pipe clamp section which can come around the pipe. So the good thing about that is if it's flexible enough, I could expand it, I could mount it without having to remove any of the sections, which works really well for me. And it also has an area where you could have maybe 2 wing nuts and a piece of threaded rod in between there. So then I asked it, could you modify that and make the clamp longer and adjust the lower hole in the pipe clamp section to be a closed hole in order to add in a heat set insert. So that's where things started to kind of fall off the rails a little bit. It did some of that. It didn't really interpret it quite right though. Instead of doing what I asked it to do, it added in additional holes and they were threaded. So then I asked it, can you make the clamp taller by 25 millimeters and remove the 2 small threaded holes from the clamp? And I'm trying to basically ask it in a different way to do the exact same thing. And it did make it longer, it did make it taller, so it got 1, but it didn't do anything with the 2 holes, it still left them. So then I thought, well, sometimes it's better to provide a drawing. It's giving me a drawing, but I could provide a drawing with the instructions on it. And it gave me this. So it still misinterpreted what I was asking it to do. But one good thing is that it cleaned up my really poor writing. Hole 4MC heat set. So then I made a little bit more clear drawing and I submitted it in the exact same way. And it did a little bit better job. It did finally get rid of the holes. So you can see all the steps that I'm having to go through just to try and get something refined that I can actually use. Now, I could have probably gone with the original drawing that it gave me, and it may have worked. It's not bad. It's definitely very robust looking, and the best thing of all is it's 3D printable if it's laying down flat. So then I went through a bunch of different options, and I thought, well, it might be better just to provide a sketch. Could I do just a really rough hand sketch of what I'm looking for, and what would it be able to do with that information? So I tried this idea in Grok first, and it provided me with something that is not usable at all, not even close to what I drew. So here's a rough sketch of what I was looking for, and I even gave it some dimensions in here as well, and specified a number 8 flathead screw. And then it gave me these. So I don't know what this is, where it would be usable. Grok is a no-go. So then I fed it into Copilot, and that is a completely different story. And look at what it gave me. It actually gave me a part that looks like it is 3D printed as well. And it did put the text on there also. And it looks really good. Like this is something that I could 3D print. It's laying flat. It would be pretty strong. So then I said to it, can you countersink the 2 screw holes for the number 8 screws and remove all the text from the image? And it gave me this. So with this image, what I can do is go over to Make Your World and then generate and then see what it comes up with. And look at what we have here. So if I change it to a mesh, this is looking really, really good. So, oh, that's strange. On the end, it's got some strange artifacts, but that's not really that important. And I would say, aside from maybe the top, I would say it's a little tiny bit gummy, but again, it's not really that critical. The hole looks fairly good as far as how circular it is. It's a little bit bulged out just right here, but again, not really that important. So we are making some progress with this, and it did lead me down a little bit different path. I decided just to create a really crappy sketch of a simple mounting bracket. Can you convert this sketch into an image of a PVC pipe mounting bracket? Basically the same thing that we said last time. And it gave me this image of pretty generic bracket. It's actually not bad at all. But a white on a white background is not a good idea. So I had it convert it to green. And take a look at this. This looks really, really good. And it could be printed laying down on its side. I think that would probably be the best. One issue with that, with these flathead screws, is that they act as a wedge. So when you tighten this up, if it's printing on its side, it will potentially fracture this piece apart. So these two wings of the flanges need to be much, much beefier in order to resist that. So then I said, okay, can you modify that bracket to add 2 rib sections towards the front and back as shown in the image? So I did the same thing. I modified the image to actually draw on. It's just really, really rough, what I wanted. And it came up with this. So that's actually really good. I asked for 2 ribs and it gave me 3. I guess it thinks it knows better. And then I thought, okay, well, this is getting pretty close to a part that I can actually use. And if I could have it extended and beef up those sections at the bottom like I just spoke about, then maybe this is going to be usable. So I did another sketch, extend down by 15 millimeters, and look at what it gave me. This is actually getting really close. So this is becoming a bit of a way where you can, rather than designing something in a software, you can design just by very basic sketches. And the better your sketch from the beginning, probably the better the final result. And we're making some progress here. And the next one was, okay, I kind of want this to be mounted at an angle. If I mark off the angular section to be removed from that, can it do that? And it didn't really understand that one very well. I wanted it angled in the opposite direction. And then I said, can you provide a side view of the bracket? How could it go from this to a side view, which is not actually the side view? That this is a front view, but I guess it thinks it's the side. And these are not the same part. It's half of the part. Technically, I could mirror this over and get the other half. But again, this is the front view and I wanted the side view. So it didn't completely know what I was asking for. And that's where I stopped. So we have some fairly viable solutions here. And I could go ahead and print this, but I actually, in this whole process, thought I probably should set this up a little bit to have more success. I did not do that. I was trying to make it a little bit more difficult than it should be. Realistically, if I were to make a bracket and 3D print it, looking at this distance here, it's not really a good idea. So I was setting myself up to fail, and I was also setting the AI up to fail as well. And the idea here is that I kind of wanted to use this eventually for storage, so this would have some shelves in it. So if I keep this up high enough, so part of the reason that I was hesitant was I didn't really want to put anything down low like this, but maybe I can put one up high. All right, so we have this now really solid piece of wood. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick, 19 millimeters, and we have the ability to easily put something around here and mount this at least. So I went into this with a little bit too much confidence. I was really thinking that this would be a game changer at this point with ChatGPT 5. So I've probably at this point generated hundreds of images, trying to tweak them, modify them, trying to feed in drawings to see what it would do with those drawings. And I also tried Google Gemini. I also tried Grok as well. I will say that Gemini and Grok, they focus more either on a very realistic image as far as it looks real, but it doesn't seem to serve much of a purpose. The function of it doesn't make any sense. If you look at Gemini, we have a bracket, but it doesn't do anything. It just looks more like a cradle, and it has a whole bunch of extra pieces on it that don't seem to do anything. It did add some nice dimensions though. And we have this one here where I will say it's heavy duty, but that's about it. It is a massive waste of material. If we go over to Grok, again, realistic looking images, they don't serve the purpose that I'm asking them to do, and they also don't make any sense. So I would say by far Copilot is the best, and I've gone through Quick Response, I've also gone through Think Deeper, and the most success I've had is on the ChatGPT-5 stuff, the new stuff. But it seems to do far better when I'm able to feed in an image of something that's really close, something that's hand sketched, and then it has something to base that image off of. And I'm speculating, but I think the reason for that is because of the reference information that's able to draw from. And one thing I've noticed is that it really likes 90-degree angles. It likes things meeting like this. If I ask it to come down at a 45-degree angle, it does not know what to do. And it will, it will do some funny business. I have to show you some of these images. It actually did a good job with the initial image. It's got a 45-degree slope on the top face, but the pipe coming through is not at the right angle. So I asked it to make a modification. And the resulting image is unique. It is not usable, unfortunately. It didn't get the angle quite right, and it's almost like an optical illusion at this point. So I needed to pull the trigger on one that I thought would work the best out of all the images that I have generated. So I picked the one that I thought would work, at least somewhat work, and then I fed it into Maker World's Image to 3D, and I went ahead and printed it. Now, at the same time, I also created my own version of what I thought would work the best. That's also fairly simple and easily 3D printable and heavy duty as well. And we'll compare them. We'll try and install both of them and see how they work. So here are our two final versions. This one was created by AI, and we'll install that and test that one out. And this one is one that I've created. This took me probably about 20 minutes to design from start to finish. It's pretty basic in the design, and it's fairly easily 3D printable as well. This one here had some overhangs, so I had to add some supports. And I printed these from PETG filament. These are printed with a 0.8 millimeter nozzle, 0.32 millimeter layer height. I've got 6 walls. They're almost completely solid. I use 6 tops, 6 bottoms. So I think it's time to go ahead and try and install these and see how they work. Oh, maybe that'll work. There we go. Oh my God. Well, it does work. However, it doesn't actually work the way I was expecting it to. I was supposed to mount it on the front and maybe turn it to a slight angle, and that's how it was going to fit. The other issue that I have is this rain barrel setup is now completely filled with water. I don't really want to empty it, so I wanted this to kind of snap over top, and I found that this did not want to bend enough to allow me to snap it over top. So I had to heat it up with the heat gun in order to make it flexible, and then I could mount it. So it's not perfect, but it does hold it. It doesn't hold it great, and it doesn't hold it exactly the way that I expected it to, but it does hold it. So one could argue that it was a success. I think in the same way you could argue that it was a failure as well. I would say it's pretty strong, and it was decently easy to 3D print as well. Now I did want to give it one more try. I was doing some research and reading up on how I should interact with it. So I took the approach of saying to the AI, what do you need from me in order to create a bracket that would suit this type of scenario? Saying that the AI is the expert rather than me being the expert. So it gave me an entire list of questions. It did take quite a while to answer all those questions, and I will say that the end result of the bracket isn't too bad, but it doesn't suit this angled scenario. It really likes 90-degree angles. I actually used an image of this exact bracket and I fed it into the AI to see if it could reproduce it with the angle, and it still got it wrong. So it's better, but it wasn't exact, even after I gave it the exact template of something that I thought would work really well. So obviously it has a little ways to go. So now I guess the question is, how long before it is actually ready to produce real parts that actually do work in the scenario that we've given them? So let me know what you think about this process, whether you think it's going to be a little while longer before it's ready to do this, or would you do something different than I did in order to get a better final result? Thank you to each of my patrons for helping to support this channel, and thank you for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you on the next one. Well, and now, unfortunately, I can't get this thing off, so I think I'm going to be stuck with that one for a little while until these barrels are empty.